This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Ready? Normally, Thursday nights are dedicated to regular chavrusa learning, shiurim, young professionals. But tonight we're dedicating it to Rabbi Rindenau, Rav Mordechai Yisrael Tzvi ben Rav Moshe Aaron Zitzal. He was an integral part of the PTI family. It's its fifth yard site. This shir is sponsored by the Rindenau, Rosalimsky family, Mandelman, Adler, and Reese families. Rabbi Aaron Pessin, his reputation precedes him. Literally, thousands of shiurim, svarim that were written. I told my daughter that Rabbi Pessin's coming. I have to come. So there's a ladies section ready for anybody who wants to come. We tried to find a title that would be good for everybody. Fascinating shilas and halacha on all different topics. So without any further ado, Rabbi Pessin.
It's a great pleasure, it's a schus, it's an honor to be here once again. Makom Torah, Makom Kodosh. Meet my friends, Mitzvah Hashem, make new friends. It's a great schus. And the fact that this is in honor of Rabbi Rindenau, who I met for a short time, but we became soulmates, and our souls connected. And it's a great schus to be here to say Divrei Torah. For his neshama and Mitzvah Hashem, he should ascend, continue to ascend higher and higher in the Olam Asayid Yonim. Amen. So the topic that was selected for tonight was fascinating shalas in halacha regarding AI, regarding Mashiach, both current events. Mitzvah Hashem. I want to start with a shaila which you'll be surprised how often this shaila comes about. Recently I was asked 3 shilas in the last few months, more or less the same theme. There was a 40-year-old man who was diagnosed with, he had a machla, he has cancer, and it's spreading steadily. Doctors are saying the most you'll be here is 10 years. Not shayach that you'll be here for more than 10 years if you don't do the surgery. The patient is refusing. Why is he refusing? 3 reasons. Says the patient, 10 years? 10 years? Mashiach is going to be coming! 10 years! Of course Mashiach is going to be coming! Every morning after Shachis, 13 principles of faith. Ani mami. They don't sing it. Some people say it. Says the patient, I believe it! 10 years. Avada is going to come. And when he comes, I will be healed. So why should I go? Surgery is dangerous. Second taina. You're saying 10 years? Somewhere in the world, somewhere, here in the States, in France, in China, in England, in Eretz Yisrael, researchers are sitting in the lab, scientists, and they're trying to find, and they will find within the next 10 years, a cure for whatever I have. Why should I go for the surgery? A third claim that the patient has, I don't know if there's any doctors in the crowd. I hope you agree with me, but doctors speak in averages. When the doctors say 10 years, that means some people with this condition will last 2 years, and some people will make it 15, 20 years. Who says I have to be right in the middle of that bell curve? Maybe I'm in the far end. I have 20 years, 25, 30 years. I'm not saying the doctors are lying. Chas v'shalom. They're exaggerating. They want to push me to do the surgery. They're speaking statistics. Who says it applies to me? I've been in this place in the past, and I asked my friends, Shimon Rabbi Isai, Dayanim Chashuvim, Dayanim Mumchim. Rabbi Isai, Abari of Talmidei Chachamim. What do you say? Does the patient, is he correct with these claims, or should he listen to the doctor and go for the surgery? Rabbi Isai, what do you say? Of course. Are you a doctor? So why are you saying of course? What about Anima? He believes in Bias HaMashiach. 10 years. Of course we don't know. I'll tell you one scientific fact. we're one day closer. And you cannot refute that. 10 years, all the signs are here. At the end of Masechet Soita, Daf Mem Tes, we see all the signs of God. They're here. He's coming.
What about Ushmatem Ma'od?
Ishmaeltem me'od. Oof, watch yourselves exceedingly. I believe in Melech HaMashiach. He's coming. Again, some people say it. Some people actually believe it. What you're saying is the fact that we are instructed to believe in the coming of Mashiach should not change the way we conduct our lives. Is that what you're saying? Don't be afraid. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Believe until tomorrow. But live a normal life.
What about Ein Sofek Mitzvah Day Badai?
And Safed, you have a doubt and you have a certainty. You go with a certainty.
I hope he's not wrong because he'll be dead.
What about
Sure.
the belief in the coming of Mashiach? You're saying it's a beautiful thing, but keep it somewhere in the back burner, but don't change the way you live.
It's not Al Pi Halacha.
Good.
Ein Sofek Mitzvah Day.
Good.
That's it. Come
So
on.
you're afraid to tell me yes, but what you're
No,
saying
yes,
is,
but
yes, don't change the way you live because of your belief in Melech HaMashiach. Is that what you're saying?
we've been
Don't be
burned a
afraid.
few times before.
Don't be afraid. Go with me. You're saying, yes, we do not change the way we conduct our lives based on the belief in Melech HaMashiach. Correct? Anyone disagrees?
Two answers.
Yeah.
One is Shomem Ma'od L'Nafsho Seichem.
Nishmartem me'od lenafsho seichem. Watch yourselves exceedingly.
Right. Oh, which you mentioned. And the second is, I don't know if this is much of an answer. Lo B'Shamayim Hi.
Torah is not in Shemayim. But Mashiach is going to be down here, not in Shemayim.
When he comes.
When he comes. Let's see if the Noida Behuda agrees with you. Shh. Noida Behuda. Oh, heavyweight. Boisik. Noida Behuda and Ma'adura Kama Simin Pei Tes. He was asked by a community that they purchased some land for a cemetery, but they weren't able to purchase it for permanently, so they leased it for 150 years. The next generation come to the Noida Behuda with a question. Rebbe, we buried our parents here, our relatives, in the previous generation. In 150 years, this land goes back to the Goyishan owner. And we know what they're going to do. They're going to plow this whole place. They're going to build a big mall. They're going
You're going to have to move it.
an apple orchard. So what is their question? We want to buy a place that will be ours permanently. So they're asking the Noida Behuda, can we take our relatives who are buried, take them out of the graves, and transfer them to the new place? It's a big deal to take a person out of his grave for two reasons. First, it's considered bizoyon ames. It's a disgrace, degradation to the person who's buried, and we don't do that. The second thing, it causes cherdas hadin, trepidation of strict judgment. So normally we don't take a person out of his grave unless you want to transfer him from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael, higher level of Kedusha. But within Chutz La'aretz, we don't change. So they're asking the Noida Behuda, should we, can we take them out because we know what's going to happen in 150 years? It's going to be such a bizayon to our relatives. The Noida Behuda answers them for a few reasons. He says, no, keep them in their graves. Why? One of the reasons that the Noida Behuda says, he says, Johannes, 150 years? 150 years? Trias HaMeisim, well sure, 150 years, what are you talking about? For sure, Trias HaMeisim is going to be 150 years. He also says, maybe in the next 150 years you'll be able to convince the Goyish owners to sell it to you and you become the owners permanently. But he does use this idea as a sniff, as another reason why not to take them out of their graves, because of the belief in Trias
He
HaMeisim.
was wrong.
I don't know if he was wrong or not, because
It's been 150 years already, no?
but we don't say that he was wrong. He, based on the information in front of him, decided what the halacha was at that time. Whether Mashiach is going to come or not is irrelevant. But you see that you can use the belief in Trias HaMeisim, Melech HaMashiach, for your halachic instructions. It's a chiddush. Not good enough for you? Let's go a little further back. About 1,300 years before him.
It's like paskening by a medrash, Lamaisa.
Gemore! Gemore! Forget about Noida Behuda. Avodah Zarah, Daf Tes Amud Beis. The Gemara says, if somebody comes to you 400 years after the destruction of Beis HaMikdash, did we pass that? We passed that, right? We're at 1957 years and change. If someone comes to you 400 years after the destruction of Beis HaMikdash and makes you an offer you cannot refuse, I'll make you an offer of a lifetime. Buy this field worth 1,000 dinar, let's speak in our language, $10 million, for 1 dinar, for $15. Says the Gemara, don't take it. Don't do the deal. Why not? It's the greatest deal ever. Rashi! Lama tafsid hadinar. Why do you want to lose this dinar? Explains Rashi, it's Ketz Geula. Of course, Mashiach is coming any minute. And this is in Chutz La'aretz. All the goyim around know that as soon as Mashiach comes, everybody runs to Eretz Yisrael and the price is going to drop and you're going to lose. There's $15. Don't take it. The Gemara says how you should conduct your business affairs based on the Emunah in the coming of Melech HaMashiach.
So what is that Yirmiyahu, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, go buy the field, and it was by Korban?
When the Kodesh Baruch Hu tells you to do something, I think you should.
That's it, right. Good point.
The two cases you brought, one was on someone who's dead, this one's on someone on money.
Right.
How could you apply this to someone who's alive, who if they withhold treatment, they could lose life?
I love what you're saying, and I'm going to reject the two proofs that I brought for a different reason. But I like what you're saying. I'll tell you what the chiluk is. I'll tell you what the chiluk is. The case of the Noida B'Yehuda, the people in the previous generation that buried their relatives in that field did everything right. They didn't have another cemetery. What they had is this cemetery which is leased. What can we do? They did everything al pi halacha kadas v'chadin. Says the Noida B'Yehuda. Now you have a chashash. Maybe in 150 years from now, there's going to be a bizayon. You know what? You can rely on Tchias HaMeisim, it's going to come, with a few other reasons. But here, the patient which is in front of us is doing everything wrong. Because the Torah, that also told you to believe in Melech HaMashiach, commanded you. V'nishmartem me'oid lenafshoseichem. By the way, 613 mitzvahs? How many of them get the word me'oid? Exceedingly! Keep the Shabbos, me'oid. You know a pasuk like this? Not familiar. You better put on tefillin tomorrow morning, me'oid. Not familiar. From the 613, how many mitzvahs get the word me'oid? Only one. Which one? This one. V'nishmartem me'od l'nafshechem. And it's so important to Kodesh Baruch Hu that we watch ourselves exceedingly that he repeats himself. A parsha before Vayischanan. Rak yishamar lecha u'shmor nafshecha me'od. The only times you find the word me'od connected to a mitzvah is this one. Wash yourself exceedingly. And this patient is doing exactly the opposite. By the way, our dear patient, who says when Mashiach comes you will be healed? Where did you get that from? There's a machlokes in the Gemara, Rav and Shmuel. And Rav says, when Mashiach comes, everything changes. Shmuel says, Oilam kemin hagonoyeg. You don't have to get rid of your Tesla. You don't go back riding camels and horses. Nope. Oilam kemin hagonoyeg. The Rambam, Hilchos Melachim, Perek Yud Beis, Halacha Aleph, Paskins, like Shmuel, which is a Chiddush. Because we have rules how to paskin. Yachid v'rabim, halacha kerabim. Abaye and Rava, halacha like Rava, except Yal Kodam 6 times where halacha is like Abaye. We have a lot of rules in Psika. Hilchas ale Mashiach, do we know how to paskin and in matters of Mashiach? And many times the Gemara asks, what are you telling me? Hilchas ale Mashiach, when he comes, we'll see. The Rambam decided that he knows how the halacha is paskin on this one. We don't know why the Rambam decided that because it doesn't give us any sources, but the Rambam decided halacha is like Shmuel, oilam keminhago noeg, which means when Mashiach comes, who told our patient that he will be healed? More than that, who told him that he will have the schus to see Mashiach? Who told him that he's going to live to see him? We believe in the coming of Mashiach every single day, meaning every single day we believe that Melech HaMashiach will come, and every single day is Mesugal, has the potential to bring it, but it doesn't have to come today. Remember, Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't work for us. We work for Kodesh Baruch Hu, and when he decides, he will send us Melech HaMashiach. Who says this patient is going to see Melech HaMashiach? And I have a suspicion that this patient plans his summer vacation 2 or 3 months before, when he goes to Chutz La'aretz. I have a suspicion that he has life insurance. I have a suspicion that before the winter season he buys clothing for his kids and for his wife and himself. So you are planning what's going to happen in half a year from now, but you can't have Mashiach is coming. Not so sure about that, and therefore this patient is doing everything wrong. What about this proof that we brought from Avodah Zarah Daf Tes Amud Beis? Remarkable Chiddush from the Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael wrote many svarim. One of them is called Dvarim Achadim on Maseches Avodah Zarah, and there he says a great diuk. Did you notice what the Gemara says? If a person comes and offers you a field worth 1,000 dinars, why did the Gemara say a field and not a house? Why didn't the Gemara give an example? If somebody comes and makes you an offer for 1,000 dinar for an apartment, don't take it. No. They talked about a field. Says the Bnei Yisrael, so why do you need a field? A field produces food. You're worried about food? Don't worry. Go to the marketplace. Somebody is producing food. There's not going to be a shortage of food. But the Gemara would not give an example of a house, because a house, you need to live. What are you going to be, homeless? You're going to be in the subway, New York? And therefore, the Gemara never said, if somebody comes and makes you an offer of buying an apartment, don't do it, because an apartment you can even buy for a short time, for 2 hours. No problem. And therefore, this example, this proof, this raya that we're trying to bring about the Zohar is not relevant at all. What about what he's saying about the doctors? Doctors speaking averages. He's right about that. But we listen to the doctors. Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim Siman Taf Reish Yud Ches and Hilchos Yom Kippurim, we learn that when the doctor tells you to eat on Yom Kippur, and that is kares, we listen to the doctor. And in Orach Chaim Shin Chaf Ches and Shin Chaf Tes, we learn that when the doctor tells you to go to the hospital on Shabbos, Chilul Shabbos, that's skila, the most severe of the 4 capital punishments. We listen to the doctor. So if he's still not sure about the doctor, let him go for a second opinion. If 2 competent doctors telling him the same thing, it's the same Torah. They told him to fast on Yom Kippur, to make Kiddush on Friday night, and to believe in Melech HaMashiach. The same Torah is saying, V'nishmartem me'od lenafshoseichem, and listen to the doctor. This reminds me, about 120 years ago, the Rogachover, genius of all geniuses, lived in the city of Dvinsk, with the Meshech Chochma, the Or Sameach. He was Hasidish, the Or Sameach not so Hasidish. One day, the Rogachover leaves his house with a gabbai. He's about to cross the street. It's not the Garden State Parkway, and it's not Ocean Parkway in New York. It's a tiny little street in Dvinsk. He gets the sidewalk and he looks to the right, looks to the left, looks to the right, and looks. The gabbai says, Rebbe, we can cross the street. There are no cars. Cars were just about to. They just started. And the gabbai says, Rebbe, you can cross the street. Oh, wait a second. He looks to the right. You imagine, how many cars were driving in the street of the Rogachover in Dvinsk 120 years ago? Maybe once every 2 weeks you saw one car. But he's looking to the right, looking to the left. And the gabbai says, Rebbe, there's no cars, we can cross. The Rogachover said to him, you should know, you can do tshuva for everything. For everything. Yuma Pehi. Gedoyla tshuva shemaga says, Kiseh HaKavod, tshuva is so great, it takes you all the way up to the heavenly throne, but there's one thing you cannot do tshuva for. That's a chiddush. The gabbai says, Rebbe, what do you mean? You can't do tshuva for something? He says, that's right. This mitzvah, Avenishmarte me'oid lenafshosechem, watch yourselves exceedingly, says the Rogachover. If I'm not careful and I transgress this, I'm not going to be here tomorrow to do tshuva. So he looked to the right, he looked to the left one more time just to make sure there's no cars. So it seems that our patient is 100% wrong, and we should recommend him. After the show, I'm going to call him and say that the Beis Din Paskind, that he should go and do the surgery. Since we're on the topic of Geula, is it okay to daven for Geula more than the 3 times prescribed to us by Chazal in Shmoneh Esrei? I really want Mashiach! Can I daven for Mashiach throughout the day more than the 3 times that we already daven for him? Aboisa, you have any problem with that? You don't have a problem with that? You have a problem with that? You recommend it? You're hesitant? What's that? I can't hear you.
You don't add on.
Baltoisiv, I'm not going to add the 20th and 21st and 22nd blessing to the Shmoneh Esrei, but without Shem Hashem, out of the finish Shmoneh Esrei, I'm sitting, meditating, talking to Rebbeinu Shalom Kodesh. Baruch Hu send Mashiach already, Geula. Is that okay? You have no problem with it.
Alavai, a person should daven every second.
That's Rabbi Yochanan in Maseches Brachos Daf Chaf Aleph. That's his language. Ulevai v'yispalel Adam kol hayoim kuloi. I wish, says Rabbi Yochanan, a person would daven the entire day. That's a very strange Gemara. Very strange statement by Rabbi Yochanan. You know why? What is davening? It's a mitzvah derabanan. It's rabbinic in nature. Talmud Torah, you said this morning, but Talmud Torah, keneged kulam has the word corresponding to all mitzvahs, and it's dioraisa. So why would Rabbi Yochanan say, I wish a person davens all day long, and let's say davening is worth $1 million, but he can earn 10 billion with Talmud Torah. So what are you saying, Rabbi Yochanan? Gewaldig. If I just came to say this, it was kedai. Chassam Sofer. Carries a lot of weight. Chassam Sofer says, Rabbi Yochanan was speaking about a very specific individual. There's a person that you never see in Beis HaMedrash, sitting and learning. Never. The only time you see him learning is in the middle of davening. In the middle of Chazaras HaShatz, in the middle of Kriyas HaTorah. He's learning. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Ulavai, I wish this person would daven all day long. In other words, that's the only time he learns. He would finally sit and learn. Ay. Moran, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zatzal, my Rebbe. In his Sefer, Ochos Yosher, Taima Dekra, and a few other Sfarim he brings, that if a person does Shnai Mikra ve'echad Targum during Chazaras HaShatz, he is not Yoitze. Not only is he not Yoitze, he's going to be punished because there's Zman Tfilah Lechud and Zman Limud Lechud. Two parallel lines that don't meet. There's a time to daven, there's a time to learn. So that's a, Baruch Hashem, thank you for bringing that Gemara. It's a Gevaldik Chassam Sofer. Yeah, I wish a person like this will daven all day long. It's the only time you see him learning. Back to our question. Is there a problem davening extra for Geula? My friends, put your seatbelts on for this one. Gemara Maseret Ksubis Daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. We learn about the 3 Shavuos. There's a Shavuos to the nations of the world. Don't enslave my children too much. They didn't really listen. And there's also some Shavuos that we took. One of them, Shelo Yerachaku Es Haketz. Don't distance the end. What does that mean? Depends who you ask. Ma'asho. Shelo Yerachaku Es Haketz B'machshavtam. Don't think, it's going to be so long before Mashiach comes. Who knows if I'm ever going to see it, Chas v'sholom. Believe that it can be coming every single day. That's a marsho. Rashi, 2 perushim. First perush in Rashi, shelo yerachaku es haketz ba'avoinam, with their sins. Don't cause the end, the geula, to delay because of your sins. But now comes the second perush in Rashi. Lishna Achrina, there's another version, says Rashi in the Gemara. Don't read it shelo yerachaku es haketz, shelo yidcheku es haketz. I'm quoting you Rashi and I'll translate to English. Lishon dochak shelo yidcheku es haketz. Keloimar al yarbu besachanunim al kach yoiser midai. Atom bomb. Meaning, don't daven too much for it. And you're okay with this. You didn't fall off your seats. Everybody's okay. Did you hear what I said, Rashi? Adonenu, Moreinu, Rashi HaKodosh. Don't daven too much for Geula. I don't know. It seems like it didn't bother you, but it bothered Chassam Sofer. And he wrote a letter to his father-in-law. Who's his father-in-law? Second marriage? Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Sha'os Shuvas Chassam Sofer in Chelek Vav, Simin Pei Vav. He writes a letter to Rabbi Akiva Eiger and says, Rebbe, father-in-law, Shver, what's wrong with this Rashi? How is this possible? We daven for it every single day. There's a special bracha instituted, Uvenei Yerushalayim in benching. He brings a medrash Shoicher Tov in Tehillim Perek Yud Ches. In the time of David HaMelech, there was a claim on the people in that generation. Why are you not davening for building Beis HaMikdash? Says Chassam Sofer, that we had Beis HaMikdash and was destroyed. How much more so we should cry for it. We should daven for it to be rebuilt. How is this possible? And therefore the Chassam Sofer is forced to say something which I think is a big doichak. And he says, I think what this means is don't do active maisim to bring the Geula. Kabbalah maisis, using all kinds of holy names. Shemos HaKedoshim, Hashbaos, that stay away. Davening as much as you want. But don't do active Kabbalah, active maisim in order to bring Beis HaMikdash. That's the answer of the Chassam Sofer. I think it's a doicha because it's not mashma in the language of Rashi. Rashi says, Shelo yarbu besachanunim al kach yoiser midai, similarly implying davening. And therefore I thought maybe we can suggest a different answer. Based on the Yerushalmi in Masechet Brachos, daf perek daled, halacha aleph. The Yerushalmi says something startling. Yerushalmi darshans a pasuk from Mishlei. Udvar sfasayim ach lemachzor. Says the Yerushalmi, if you daven too much, it can work against you. And the Yerushalmi brings an example. Chana, by davening too much to have her son Shmuel Hanavi, she killed him. That's why he only lasted. How many years did he live? 52 years. 2 years she nursed him out of the cheshbon. 50 years. Why only 50 years? Such a tzaddik. Says the Gemara. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this here. Chana killed him. In other words, it worked against her. Ask the Gemara, how is this possible? On the same page, we learn that if a person davens and it doesn't work, daven again. So what are you telling me? Too much? Answers the Gemara. Ha beyachid, ha betzibur. When you daven too much, yachid, an individual, oh, it can be dangerous. Looking at you and say, who are you to come in front of the king? Mano a mano. You're scrutinized. It can be dangerous. It can be lethal. But when you come with koyach hatzibur, Brachos, daf ches amud aleph in Bavli, we learn, le'olam, never does a Kodesh Baruch Hu reject the tefillah of a tzibur. B'tzibur, we can daven for Geula as much as we can, as much as we want. There's no restriction. Yachid, an individual, kind of dangerous. But if I'm right, we have a different problem now. A contradiction to Gemara in Brachos in Bavli, the Flamed Beis. There we learn, Mayase Adam, what should a person do if he davens and he wasn't answered? Yachzor ve'ispalel, shene'emar, kave el Hashem, daven to Hashem. Chazak v'yametz libechen, how does the pasuk end? V'kave el Hashem, daven again. So the Gemara says it's a great idea to daven again. What are you telling me? Stay away from it if you're an individual. How does that work? So contrary to popular belief, what that really means, that Gemara, it's not daven and daven and daven and daven. The Iyun Yaakov over there on the Gemara in Brachos Lamed Beis explains, you know what that means? Maybe the first time you daven was a time of a wrath of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And the pasuk says, Chaviki mat rega ad yavor zam. Wait until the wrath of a Kodesh Baruch Hu disappears, and then daven again. It's going to be a time when a Kodesh Baruch Hu is appeased. Sheneemar be'es rotzoin inisicha. When a Kodesh Baruch Hu is appeased, he's going to accept your prayer. So we're only talking about twice. Davening only 2 times. More than that. The Ezor Eliyahu, that's the Siddur of Agod Mevilna. And before him, 250 years before that, Rabbeinu Yoina, in Igeres HaTshuva, they say a remarkable thing. You know what the Gemara means when it says, Yachzor ve'yispalel, daven again? Listen to the Chazan's repetition. Gewaldik. You daven, silent prayer. The Chazan does it again. If you listen to him, because of the concept called Shomeya Ke'oine, you listen to the Chazan, and you say Amen to his blessings, it is counted as if you daven again. That's all it means. Nobody says that you have to daven again, again, again. And maybe what Rashi means, for whatever reason, for Geula, it's kind of dangerous to daven. Other things, daven as much as you want. For Geula, for whatever reason. But we're back to our answer. Perhaps, based on this Yerushalmi, Brachos Perek Daled Halacha Aleph, Beyachid, individually, it could be problematic. But Tzibur, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, never rejects the koyach of the Tzibur. And with that, we can understand a new pshat. And a phrase Chazal say, and we all know it, Berov Am Hadras Melech. We normally understand it to mean, the greater the Tzibur, it's more of a beautification to the king. We're saying something different now. We're saying now, Berov means Ribui, a lot of prayers. Who? The Am. A Tzibur can daven a lot, and that is the Hadras Melech, that is the beautification for the king. But an individual, perhaps, should stay away from that. Since we're on topic of davening, Rabbi Isai, is there any limit to how long my Shmoneh Esrei can be? I have this awakening today. Daven Ma'ariv, 2.5 hours, 14 hours. Do you have a problem with that? Not if I run into nets. It's a long night, no problem. It's a winter, I daven at 5 p.m. and I'm going to daven for 10 hours straight. Does anyone have a problem with that? What is the limit? Is there a limit to a Shmoneh Esrei? How long it can be? Or you're saying it all depends on Kavanah Salev? What do you say, Rabbi Isai?
3 hours.
3 hours. And what happens in 3 hours?
Well, ideally, you're supposed to meditate on prayer. Second hour, you're supposed to pray. Third hour, you're supposed to think about what you prayed about.
That's a Gemara Mishnah in Masechet Brachos that says Hasidim Arishonim would stay for 1 hour before prayer to understand what they're about to do. They would daven for 1 hour, and to come down from that high, 1 more hour. But I'm talking about the Shmoneh Esrei itself, the davening itself. Is there any limit to it?
It should fit within that 1 hour.
That's what Hasidim Arishonim used to do. Who says it limits me?
No.
So based on what you're saying, 1 hour is the cutoff line. Anyone else begs to differ? Rabbi Isai, a big chiddush in our parsha. Ramban. Rosh Verishon LeRabboseinu Arishonim, he brings some Sefer HaBahir. Who's Sefer HaBahir? Reb Nechunya ben Hakana, Atana. Rabbeinu Bechaye brings the same thing. Verikanti, from greatest of Mekubalim. They all bring the same thing. Max 3 hours. Not because of the Gemara you said. Because of the pasuk about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was standing there with arms stretched, davening at one point. It's too heavy. Only 3 hours is the max. That's the Ramban says. And the Rikanti explains why. Shelo yatriach yoiser midai. Don't burden HaKadosh Baruch Hu with your prayers too much. Achidish. Gaon Mivilna. And a pasuk in Mishlei Perek Kaf Hei. I think pasuk Yud Zayin. The pasuk says, Hokar raglecha mi beis re'echa. Pen yisba ve'yisne'eka. Stay away from your friend's house. Don't be there so often, lest he becomes satiated with you and he hates you. That's literally what the pasuk says. Says the Gaon Mivila. Who is your friend? He sends us to another pasuk in Mishlei Perek Chav Zayin, pasuk Yud. Reyacha ve'reya avicha al ta'azov. Your friend and your father's friend don't forsake. Rashi, that is a Kodesh Baruch Hu, who is called Reya leYisrael. He is our friend. Says the Gaon Mivila. Don't go to the shul and daven more than 3 hours. So we have a strong coalition. Rabbeinu Bechaye, the Ramban, based on Sefer HaBahir, the Rikanti, and the Gaon Mivilna. So if you ever think of davening a Shmoneh Esrei, a real long one, stop at 3 hours. Since we moved to Tefillah, and in this parsha is Parshas Shira Sayam, Baal HaTurim, at the beginning of Parshas Vayeschanan, says Vayeschanan has a numerical value of 515, and that's the amount of times that Moshe davened to go into Eretz Yisrael. And Tefillah, Tav Pei Lamed Hei, is the same numerical value, 515. And Shira, Shin Yud Reish Hei, has the same numerical value because that is the best way to daven. In fact, says the Baal HaTurim, why is it Shira? Because Moshe Rabbeinu sang to Ribono Shel Olam in order for his prayer to be accepted. So if you want your prayer to be accepted, start singing. Don't know what to. To you, Moed Kavod. Remember this for Purim. Mamish Pilei Ploim. We'll start with Sefer HaChinuch. Mitzvah Shin Pei Daled in Sefer HaChinuch. Blow the trumpets when you bring the korban. Why? Says Sefer HaChinuch. Ve'ein davar ye'orerehu kemo hanigun. There is nothing that can awaken one, like a tune, like music, to remove all the vain thoughts of the worldly affairs from his mind so he can concentrate on what he's doing and bringing the korban so it could be atoned for him. Big chiddush. But comes the Ma'or V'Shemesh, and Ma'or V'Shemesh is a Talmid of Rebbe Melech Melizhansk, 250 years ago. And he brings from a Sefer Kadmon called Bris Menucha. A major chiddush. Any Kohanim in the crowd? Kohanim serve in Beis HaMikdash. They bring a korban. Any Levim in the crowd? Levim serve in Beis HaMikdash. They sing and they play the instruments, right? Levim, the Levim play the instruments and they sing. What tune do the Levim sing in Beis HaMikdash? Says the Maor V'Shemesh, Kohen, you should know this. When the Kohen saw the person bringing his offering, he was a sinner. He brought a korban. The Kohen would read his mind, and looking at his face, he would see if the person did tshuva or not. And if he didn't do tshuva, the Kohen signals to the Levi, play that tune that will cause him to do tshuva. The Levi would do that, the person would do tshuva, and the korban would atone for his sin. Remarkable. Mamish Vardik. He doesn't say if it's a one tune, one size fits all. I don't know. Maybe each person, he can read his mind, the Kohen. Maybe he knows this tune is going to awaken him. I don't know. But that's a remarkable Chiddush. A Chiddush for Purim. Don't forget this. Manos HaLevi. Who's Manos HaLevi? Reb Shlomo Alkabetz. Known for tomorrow night. Lecha Doidi. He writes that Achashverosh, in his banquet, wanted people to enjoy. And he wanted to engage all one's senses. And therefore, he had amazing wine there to experience the sense of taste. He had amazing flowers spreading amazing smell and perfume. Smell. He had them all sit on mitois kesef, zahav kesef. Elegant, beautiful chairs, beds, to experience touch. He had chur, karpas, utcheles, to experience the beautiful eyesight. But one sense he didn't want to engage, and that is hearing. No music in that banquet. Why? Because Achashverosh knew the secret. Music can transform a person and can elevate his soul so high that he is not here with us. What's the difference, if that's the case, between food and music? So Achashverosh said like this: if you like steak, I'm going to give you steak. If you like steamed veggies or gluten-free crackers, I'll give you that. And it doesn't bother you that he's eating the vegetable. It doesn't bother you that he's eating the steak. But with music, if I don't like your music, it can be torturous to me. So if I don't like your Avrei Maleh Fried, your Yishai Ribor, I don't know what people are listening to today, it can be dangerous. So Achashverosh says, no music. But more than that, he knew that when the Jews are going to listen to their music, their soul is going to be way over there. And he wanted them all to be down here so they can eat what they're not allowed to eat, so they can see what they're not allowed to see. He wanted them to stay here so the neshama can be contaminated, defile the neshama. And therefore there was no music. That is the koyach of the music. And Peas HaShulchan, that is the Talmud of the Gaon Mevilna, in his Akdama writes that he heard from the Gaon Mevilna that only if one knows the secrets of music can he fully understand the secrets of Tikkunei HaZoyar, the secrets of Torah. One can die from listening to music. And if you know the secrets of music, you can do Tchias HaMeisim. That's the koyach of music. Which leads me to ask you the following question that in the last, 5-6 months, I was asked so many times. We have an issue to listen to a woman singing. Kol Isha. Can a man listen to an AI generated Kol Isha? It's not a Kol Isha. The computer generated it. It's not a Kol Isha. But it sounds exactly like the real deal. Can a man listen to that music? What do you say, Rabbi Yisrael? Did you fall asleep? Beis Din, esteemed Beis Din, what do you say? They're waiting for an answer. I'm supposed to call at the end of this year.
No, because it's not different.
It's not different?
It's the same vibrations.
So you're not allowed to. So you're not allowed to listen to a little boy's voice which sounds just like a woman?
I would say it doesn't sound like a woman.
Many times it does.
Voice.
Many times it does. If it happens to sound exactly like a woman, you're not allowed to listen to it?
No,
That's a big chiddush what you're saying.
Where Ravadi Yosef,
So if it happens to be your son, who happens to be when he's young, sometimes it happens that you're not allowed to listen to him. It's a big chiddush.
where Ravadi Yosef Paskins,
Abu Vadia Yosef Paskins that one is allowed to listen to a Kol Isha if you don't know the woman, if you never saw her. If she's dead, you're allowed to. Not everybody agrees with him, but there are others who agree with him. However, I answered, again, the last 5-6 months, I answered so many times this shaila. Technically speaking, you would be allowed. This is not a woman's voice. However, if someone knows that it's going to lead him to improper thoughts, and that's the reason for this. This is not a deraisa, this is the Rabbanon. If he knows it's going to lead him into improper thoughts, or if he thinks there's potential it's going to lead him to improper thoughts, he should stay away. In other words, not everything that is, technically speaking, halachically permissible is something that we practice. Also, I was asked, again, about music. Can you listen to AI-generated music during the 3 weeks? What is also is to listen to music. We understand music is the violin, the drums, a piano, a guitar. This is generated. It's not real. I can't hear you. A harp. David HaMelech had one. Miriam, in this parasha, she takes out drums. So drums and a harp.
Well, the real instruments you can't listen to, right?
What's that?
You said during the 3 weeks you can't listen to the real instruments. during the
Right.
period.
So some people listen to a
People might
cappella.
change.
Today the a cappella is so good, so sophisticated. Mama, it's the real deal. I think with this we go zil basar taima. We go after the reason. The reason is this is time of avelus. It's 3 weeks. They want us to mourn for the destruction of Beis Hamikdash. Music will cause you
Happiness.
to stand up and start dancing. So it doesn't really make a difference if it's generated by a computer or generated in my organ back home. It doesn't make a difference. The idea is to show the halachos of avelus demand us to act in different ways, to stay away from certain things, to do certain things. One of them is to stay away from music. So it doesn't really make a difference what type of music that is and how it was generated. Which leads me to an amazing shaila that I think this shaila was not asked since Sheshes Yemei Bereshis. A few months ago, a Rav from the south in Eretz Yisrael calls me. He lives in the city of Sderot with the following shaila. He records a lot of shiurim and he sends it to all kinds of groups. One of the groups that he sends his shiurim to is a group of women. And he recently found out that these women feel more connected to a Rebbitzin when she speaks. Torah, Ashkafa, Musa, Halacha, whatever it is, they want to connect more to a Rebbitzin than to a rabbi. They don't have anything against him, but they feel more of a connection to a Rebbitzin. Fine. His friend came over and showed him that today with AI, you can actually manipulate your voice and change your voice to sound exactly like a woman. Can be a black woman, an Italian woman, young and old, whatever you want, any accent. He says his friend changed his voice to a woman's voice, and he listened to his own shir, and he didn't recognize his own voice. He says it's mamish unbelievable. So he calls me and asks, is this okay? Can I change my voice to a woman's voice? Send them. Rebbitzin Leah is sending you the new shiurim. What about Genevas Das?
Geneva's Das would be a cop-out answer.
Why?
That's obvious. Maybe it's Geneva's Das. The real question is, I'm not exactly sure.
First of all, I'm not so sure that you're right. Let's find out if it really is Genevas Das. You decided it's Genevas Das. Let's find out if you're right. Is it Genevas Das? How about you say? You like it? You don't like it? I'm sorry?
Copyright infringement?
No copyright because it's his own material. He has no problem. He is the one sending it to them. But he's changing his name, Rebbitzin Leah, and he's changing his voice. Nobody will ever know.
Disclosing that he made the change.
What's that?
Disclosing that he
No, of course not. They want to connect to a Rebbitzin, not to a computer, and not to a man. So he's going to change it. They're going to get a file from Rebbitzin Leah, not knowing that really is from Rabbi, whatever his name is. You don't like it. Why not? What's that? 100% Genevas Das. You're saying it's not Genevas Das. Ad sheyavo hashlishi veyachriya b'neihem.
Her names are standard in writing.
Her name is very standard in writing. Is that Genevas Das? Shailus Tshuvas Torah Lishma. You heard of this sefer? Tshuvas Torah Lishma? That's the Ben Ish Chai. He signs every tshuva Yechezkel Kachli. As far as we know, that wasn't his name. What was his name? Rabbi Yosef Chaim, the Lion of Baghdad. Rabbi Yosef Chaim. He signs it Yechezkel Kachli because he wanted at least one sefer to be Torah Lishma. No credit, a pen name. We found out later that it's his material. So this is done all the time. You don't like it?
People are doing it on the condition that's what is their buying, that it's a woman.
Let's find out.
Be upset, they do not.
Let's find out. Tosefta in Baba Kama Perek Zayin Gimel says, Shiva Minei Ganavim Hem. There are 7 types of thieves. For example, the Tosefta brings, there's a guy who sells strawberries. He puts the most beautiful strawberries on top. It's not a see-through container. So you think everything is great like that. You come and you take and you go back home. It's all garbage. He took only the top layer was beautiful strawberries. Everything else, that's gone. You know your friend has a flight in exactly 2 hours from Newark. So you come to him right after davening. You say, why don't you come over and have lunch with me? Oh, it's so nice. You know he's not coming. But I have a flight to catch. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Because now he owes you one. Next week, when you want a favor, you know who to call. That's called Genevas Das. You go visit your friend Reuven in the hospital because you heard that he's hospitalized. You get to the hospital, you see Shimon walking with his pajama, hospital pajama. And Shimon, as soon as I heard that you're here, I had to come visit you. A liar. And Shimon says, Shekoya, why are you doing that? Because now he owes you one, and next week when you want a favor, you know exactly who to call. Says the Tosefta, from all the types of thieves, Goinev Das is the worst. Goinev Das, oof. Very, very harsh. Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mishpat Simin. Reish Kav Ches, Seif Vav, the Shulchan Aruch Paskens, Genevas Das is asur. It's not just not a nice thing to do. It's a complete prohibition. However, Chulin Tzadi Daled Amud Aleph, we learn that if you're doing it lichvoido, to honor him, really just for his sake, you're allowed to. The Gnevas Dash, which is asur, is when you're trying to gain something. You want to gain a gift, you want to gain a favor, he's going to owe you one, that is asur. But when you're doing it to honor him, there is no isur. Birkei Yosef, Yoredei Reish Mem Beis, I believe Seif Yud Zayin. He brings based on the Gemara in Pesachim Kuf Yud Beis Amud Aleph. A rabbi gives a shir. He knows his crowd. He wants to give a halacha and he knows they're not going to accept it. But he knows that if he says, last week I was in Eretz Yisrael and I heard it from Rabbi Yoshev himself. The Chazon Ish told me. I remember 2 years ago, when I was a bachor, I asked, Godol Ador. You know that the tzibur is going to listen and to accept, you're allowed to do that. You never asked Rabbi Yoshev this question, not the Chazon Ish. You're allowed to do this. It's a Gemara in Pesachim Kufid Beis Amud Aleph, the Birkei Yosef paskins like that la halacha. This is only for a Moirei Hoira, not for everybody, but a Rav is allowed to do this. Shulchan Aruch Yoredei, Reish Mem Vav. Shulchan Aruch himself paskins. Yesh larav lehatos hatalmidim b'she'elo isav, kedei lechaded hasalmidim. The Rav is allowed, is recommended, it's encouraged to fool his Talmidim, to ask silly questions, to change from the truth, to sharpen their minds. And this is based on many Gemores, Eruvin Yud Gimel, Nida Samech Gimel, Zvachim Yud Gimel, many Gemores where we find the Tanaim and the Amoraim changing from the truth in order to sharpen the minds of their Talmidim. So for Talmud Torah, Lichora, you're allowed to. Zohar HaKodesh in Shemoish, Daf Tzadik Gimel Amud Beish, the Zohar HaKodesh says, Parshas Yisro, coming up, Aseres Adibois, lie signal, don't steal. Anybody knows what the trap is over there? Mercha Tipra. Where is the Tipra? Tipra is a Ta'am Mafsik. Tipra is the trap that makes the one who reads it pause. Loi tipcha, pause, tignov. If we would writing it, we would write it differently. Loi tignov, connect them. Says no. Because sometimes you need to steal people's mind. For example, if the Dayan is sitting and he can't fool the witness when he is interrogating him, you have to find out what the truth is, and sometimes you're allowed to do it. Continues the Rav. And the Talmud who doesn't understand or understands but he wants the Rav to repeat it can say, Rav, I didn't understand. Yes, he did, but he wants to hear it again. I didn't understand. He's allowed to lie. The Rav is allowed to lie in order to sharpen the minds of his Talmidim. Mimele, you see from here that one is allowed to change from the truth for the purpose of Talmud Torah. Here it's not a problem that he's going to try to gain something out of these women because he doesn't want them to know that he is the one producing these videos. He's going to send it to them with a different name and he doesn't want them to know that it's him. So he's never going to call and say, you owe me one. So lechoira, it shouldn't be a problem. So when he was speaking to me on the phone and I told him all these sources, and I said, however, don't dare do this. And he said, but you just finished telling me all the proofs and lies that there's no problem. I said, you're right. Halachically, there's no problem. And yet, don't dare do it. He says, I said, you know what's going to happen? You're good. Your shurim are really good. They're going to love it. And they're going to want to invite this Rebbetzin to their seminary. They're going to want to come and get the blessings of this holy Rebbetzin. They want to introduce her. They want to meet her. She's so special. You know what Chilul Hashem is going to come out of it? Stay away from this. Not everything that's, technically speaking, halachically, is permissible. We do, and I told them to stay away. Which brings us to a very, very common shayla lately. Can you pasken halacha based on AI? People are asking questions all day long. ChatGPT and Gemini and whatever it is, and they're getting answers. Can AI pasken halacha for you?
Whenever they give you Makoros, when they give you a makor, you can look it up
Yeah.
yourself, and I'll send you to the OU website, and I'll send you to Russia Weiss, once they do that.
But that's not my question. That's not my question. When you ask AI a question, and it sends you to Harav Ovadia Yosef and to the Engilsh Moshe, and you see exactly what they said, the AI didn't pasken halacha for you. It's a reference, and it went, and you saw, and it was right, it's no problem, but that's not what I'm asking. You're asking AI a question, and the way normally AI today works, it answers you within a split of a second, without giving you sources, without giving you proofs. This is the halacha, because it knows it all. It knows all the Engilsh Moshes and Rav Ovadias and Tzitz Eliezer and everything else in the world, the Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, Tosefta, Rambam, Midrashim, everything. And it's able to process all that data within a split of a second. It gives you an answer. Can you pasken halacha based on AI? That is my question. You don't like it. Why not?
First of all, it almost always does give you a makor. I've done it.
Okay.
Second of all, he's not my posik.
Why can't he be your posik? Aseh lecha rav. Aseh lecha rav. Make for yourself a rav.
He's just giving you algorithms. He's not
But if he's always right, we're going to check him out.
always right.
But if he is always right, 10 out of 10, then will you agree? 100 out of 100. Why?
He doesn't have Ruach,
You need Ruach HaKodesh to pasken halacha?
Ruach HaKodesh, he doesn't have it has no kedusha. It has no.
You have to have kedusha in order to pasken halacha?
We should have
Some.
I'm missing words here.
Let's see. No Yiras Shamayim. Who told you? Who told you? It must be that it has Yiras Shamayim. You know what? There's a Gemara in Brachos Daf Vav Amud Beis. Kol mi sheyesh bo Yiras Shamayim, dvarav nishmaim. If one has fear of heaven, his words are heard. The words of AI are heard all over the world. Based on this Gemara, it has Yiras Shamayim. I agree with you 100%, and I'll tell you why I agree with you, and for a few more reasons. First of all, most of the time when you ask AI today questions, it does not provide you proofs. It, based on its knowledge, tells you what the halacha is, and it gives you some reasons for it. It doesn't give you proofs most of the time. It doesn't give you sources most of the time. But this, in theory, is something that can be fixed, and it will be fixed. You have to assume in next year, in 2 years, and 3 years from now, this will be fixed. Right now, when it does give you sources, many times, it draws these sources from very, very good quality sources, very, 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 very bad Talmudic sources. Could be a Reform rabbi, a conservative rabbi, could be also a priest. You don't know where it's taking its sources from. And therefore, it has lichoira a definition of Sfarim HaChitzoniim, stay away. But this, in theory, can be fixed. And in fact, today, they have this rabbi, I think it's called Dicta or something like that they guide this ChatGPT type of a rabbi to only go to specific sources that we allow him to. So then we alleviate that problem. Today, it invents things that never, it's just unbelievable. It's so creative. It invents things and it lies. And it tells you a source, it doesn't exist. You go to that source and it says exactly the opposite. But again, this is something that can be fixed and it will be fixed. So in 2, 3, 4 years from now, you have to assume everything will be top notch. And again, we can test it. And let's say we tested 50 out of 50, he's on the money. He's 100% right. Today, it doesn't have the scale. And if there's a machlokes of the Ben Ish Chai with Rabbi Akiva, the Tana, you will say, well, there's some dispute here between the Magen Avraham and the Rambam. Can the Magen Avraham argue with the Rambam? Can the Ben Ish Chai argue with Rabbi Akiva? No. But again, this is something that, technically speaking, we can fix, no doubt. We'll guide the AI how to have the right weight, understanding Tanaim, Amoraim, Rishonim, Acharonim. That's not a problem. But even if AI is right all the time, we cannot paskin according to an AI, and it's not even an opinion in halacha. Why is that? There's a Gemara in Eruvin Yud Gimel Amud Beis, and the Gemara says, Reb Meir's friends couldn't understand him. He was so superior to all of them, and because of that they didn't understand him, they didn't paskin halacha like him, and halacha is like Chachamim. He was brilliant, more so than anybody else in that generation, but since Lo yachlu lamod al daitoi, they couldn't understand it because he was so brilliant. That reminds us of someone, of something. This AI is so brilliant. If we can't understand you, we don't paskin like you. More than that. Torah lo b'shamayim hi. Torah is not in the shamayim. What does that mean? But Metzia Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis. Famous machlokes of Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim Tanuroi Shel Achnai. They had some question about Tuma and Taira regarding a certain oven. Rabbi Eliezer says, if I'm right, let them tell us from Shemaim. A Baskol came out from Shemaim and says, Allah like Rabbi Eliezer, whatever he says. And Chachamim say, we don't listen to a Baskol. And he performed all kinds of miracles. The walls of Beis Hamikdash suddenly started, the water channel went up incline instead of downwards. But Chachamim said, we don't listen to a Baskol and not to signs. Torah lo b'shamayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah for us to decide here and not somewhere in an engineered program. Torah lo b'shamayim. If a Navi comes down today, a Navi, and says to us, Rabbi Isai, from now on we start putting on fitting at night, a Navi, will we listen to him? No! Nevuah is not one of our guidelines in how we paskin halacha. There's certain rules how to paskin halacha. Nevuah is not one of them. More than that, AI lacks and will always be lacking emotion. And halacha is not black and white. For example, a chutzpahdik, an example. Chas v'sholom, a Sefer Torah is being burnt. Can you go and light your cigarette from that fire? Why not? If we'll say that the ashes don't have any kedusha anymore, what's the problem? Who can do such a thing? In other words, you also have to introduce some emotion, an understanding of Torah, not just the technical of yes and no. Kosher, pasul, mutar, tameh, tahor, asul b'di'eved, kosher lechatchila. It's much more than that. More than that. You know how many times one is asked a question, the same question by Reuven and Shimon, 2 minutes apart. Reuven gets one answer, Shimon gets another. For example, Hilchos Meiser money. There are three opinions where Meiser stems from. Dioraisa, Dirabonon, or Minhag Toiv Be'alma. We paskin la halacha that Meiser comes from Minhag Toiv Be'alma, and therefore gives us some flexibility to be lenient if we need to. A rich person comes and asks a question, why should we be lenient with him? And we're going to be machmir. Same question 2 minutes later from his friend who is poor, we're going to be lenient. A Baal Tshuva, a recent Baal Tshuva, 2 weeks in the business, comes and asks a question. An FFB, a boring FFB of 50 years old, comes and asks the same question. Of course we'll be lenient if we can. If you want to answer a personal question and you know it's going to impose big time on his shlom bayis, you got to take that into consideration. AI can't do that. AI will never be able to do that. So the halacha is not black and white, and there's a lot of room for creativity and for emotion and for many, many other considerations. And that is something it will never be able to do. And there's 4 volumes to Shulchan Aruch that we are familiar with. But there was called the 5th volume of the Shulchan Aruch that doesn't exist. That is to know how to answer people. And that is something the AI will never be able to do, and therefore we stay away from it. More than that. Megillah Davav Amud Beis, we learn, Le'uk Megirsa, Siyata Min Shmaya Hi. You need a special Siyata Dishmaya to understand the Sugya and to paskin halacha based on the Sugya. Sanhedrin Tzadik Gimel Amud Beis, Chazal Darshan HaPasuk, Ve'Hashem Imoi, Melamed She'halacha Kemoise B'chol Makoim. Hashem is with him. Hashem is with the Rav when he paskins halacha. I'm not familiar with any AI that in the morning goes to the mikveh. I doubt that it can, because it's probably not going to function. I don't know any AI that davens, I want to understand the toises in Yevamos Membeis. I don't know any AI that davens to Rebbeinu Shel Olam, that tefillah of Rebbe Nechunya ben Hakana, shelo nikashel bidvar halacha, that we should not stumble on any halachic matter. I don't know any AI that had a zchus avos. No zchus avos. You need siyata dishmaya to paskin halacha, and I don't think AI can have siyata dishmaya, because AI is not a human being, contrary to popular belief. Many times, Gedolei Yisrael, when they paskin halacha, they don't answer specifically about the micro question that came to them. They look in the macro. Especially with the technological advancements of today, when a shayla comes about Shabbos, there's certain things that potentially, in theory, we can allow. But if we do, Shabbos will start looking like a Monday and like a Tuesday afternoon, and we don't want that to happen. So many times, Gedolei Yisrael say no to something that, in theory, technically speaking, can be permitted. But they are called Einei Ha'eda, the eyes of the congregation, because they have X-ray vision to look into the future and to see what this can cause in the future. AI cannot do it, won't be able to do it. This is a special siyata dishmaya to poiskei halacha, and therefore we cannot paskin by AI. I know a few people, one rabbi and a few people, that when they are asked to speak in the shul, they actually ask AI for some help. AI, make me a nice Dvar Torah, a nice Dvar Torah. A little riddle, a nice joke, a Dvar Halacha, pilpul. You said it over in shul. Are you supposed to, at the end, say to the congregation, by the way, this is not mine, this is AI. Kol oimer, davar b'shem oimro, if you say a Dvar Torah, you said in the name of whom you said it from, mevi, geula la'olam, you're going to bring redemption to the world. Should you say, this is not mine. This I brought from the Chassam Sofer. This I brought from the AI. Do you have to quote, this is from AI? I'm sorry? So you're saying you should say it?
To be honest, it would be fake otherwise.
I think for a different reason you should. Because in Masechet Shvis in Yerushalmi, in Daf Lamed Amud Beis, we learn that if you go to a place that they don't know you, and they honor you as if you know 2 tractates, but you only know 1 tractate, you're supposed to say, I only know 1 tractate. And like you said, if you think they think that you're a genius, you know everything you know, wow, it's unbelievable. You're supposed to say, this is generated by AI, just in order not to become arrogant. I don't know if it's going to bring Geula to the world. I don't know what Chazal, I don't think they meant that. But for the other reason, they should not become arrogant. Lechore, you should. In this parsha we learn about Kriyas Yamsuf. And Chazal equate finding a shidduch, Kasha zivugo shel Adam, ki Kriyas Yamsuf. It's so hard, like the splitting of the sea. Which brings me to tell you a maise about a shidduch which was hard, like the splitting of the sea. There was a guy who started shidduchim at the age of 18. He goes out, one girl after the other, it doesn't work. At the age of 20, his friend tells him, I have a very big connection with one of Gedolei Yisrael, Mamish, one of Ziknei Ha'eda. Maybe you should come with me. He'll give you a bracha. Whatever he says is Ruach HaKodesh on his lips. There's a Tosfos in Eruvin Samech Dalet. Dvar Hashem b'fiv, the words of Hashem in his mouth. Whatever he says, it's mamish, it's always emes. You want to come with me? He says, yeah, gewaldig. When they're walking to this gadol, the guy who's in shidduchim says to his friend, if this works out, and what the gadol says comes true, I'm going to give $5,000 to tzedakah. It's a lot of money for him. So his friend says, well, wait a second. I have a Tomchei Shabbos. So you give that 5,000 to my organization. He says, fine. They go in. They advance. There's a few people in front of them. And then he bends down to this Gadol Ador, white, long beard, all the way down to his knees. And he says, Rebbe, I'm in Shidduchim. It doesn't work. 2 years already. And the Gadol looks up to the stars and he says, your Shidduch is very, very near. Your Shidduch is very, very close. He repeated it a few times. He left. He felt so good. He said, this is going to be it. 2 months, 3 months, 4, 5, 6. After a year, he already forgot that he went there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years. At the age of 32, 12 years after he went to this Gadol, Baruch Hashem, he just got engaged. Mazel tov. One day, he's sitting with his kala and with his friend, the same friend from back then. They're reminiscing, and the friend says, do you remember? 12 years ago, I actually took you to Gadol Ador, and you got a bracha. Oh, yeah, of course I remember. And the kala says, who did you go to? He says the name. He says, oh, really? Oh, that's amazing. My family, my father is very close to him. Wow. He says, yeah. The friend says, I think I still have the video from that. Really? Can you go get it? Can you go bring it? He says, sure. He goes home. Half an hour later, he comes back. I found it. He plays the video. You see the Gadol Ador sitting there. Old man. You see the people slowly advancing in the line. And then the Kala says, Stop the video! I can't believe it! I can't get over it. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. He says, what are you talking about? She says to her husband, look who's behind you. It's my father. And look who he's holding in his arm. It's me when I was 8 years old. You were 20 years old. I was 8 years old. 12 years difference between us. Can't believe it. And you see the Gadol saying, your shidduch is very near. Your shidduch is very close. He's right. Less than 2 feet apart. And the friend says, oh, wait a second. I think we had some kind of an agreement regarding tzedakah money. $5,000 to my organization. Hand it over. He says, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? When the Gadol said, your shidduch is very near, your shidduch is very close, I understood it to mean in time, not in proximity. 2, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, fine. A year, 12 years. But he says, I told you, what the tzaddik says comes true. He has Ruach HaKodesh in his mouth, and he said it's very near, and it was. He measured about 52 centimeters. Figure it out in inches. Very, very close, very near. He was right. You have to pay up. Does he have to pay up or not? Rabbi Yisai, Dayani, Mumchim, what do you say? Did you ever hear such a crazy maisa?
Do you make Taurus and Dar?
I don't want to do a Taurus and Darim. I want to know if he's chayav $5,000 to tzedakah or not. He also wants to know. Did he make it in the last 12 years? No, he forgot about it. But Lemaisa, he said the words. If the words of the tzaddik come true, I will give $5,000. Did they come true?
Yes. Eventually,
Is that what he meant? How do you know? Is that what's paskin in the halacha? Yeah, it's a gemara in the Dorim. What's paskin in the halacha? Let's look at Shulchan Aruch Yoredea, and the way to remember it is simin, smell. What simin is that? Smell. Reach. Reish Yud Ches. That's how we're all going to remember it now. Simin, smell. Smell is reach in Hebrew. In simin reach, very hard to remember which seif, because there's only one seif. So we know it's reach aleph in the Shulchan Aruch Paskins. Contrary to popular belief. In Nedarim, we don't go after the language of the one who made the neder. We don't go after the literal meaning of the words. We go after what he meant, how people would understand it. And everybody understands that when he said, if the words of the tzaddik come true, I will give, he meant in time. He was already frustrated. 2 years that he's been dating and it wasn't working out. He didn't want to wait another 12 years. The truth is he's very happy after the fact that he waited 12 years because he wouldn't want to get married to a 9-year-old, a year later. That's for sure. But regarding the neder that he made, it's clear that he intended time and not distance, and therefore he should be patur completely from the neder. You get 2 points for that. Now, boys, I just want to finish with a frightening Orach Chaim HaKodesh. Frightening. Beginning of Parshas Tetzaveh. Orach Chaim HaKodesh brings a Zohar HaKodesh that appears twice in Zohar, Zohar Chadash and Zohar Bereshis. And the Zohar HaKodesh says, there are 4 galuyos. We were redeemed from the first galus for the schus of Avraham Avinu. We were redeemed from the second galus for the merit of Yitzchak Avinu. The third galus, we got out because of the schus of Yaakov Avinu. Up to here, it's not frightening at all. But now it starts. Says the Zohar HaKodesh. And from this long, bitter galus, the fourth galus, we will be redeemed for the schus of Moshe Rabbeinu, and listen to a language in Hebrew, I'm going to translate to English. Moshe eino chafetz ligoil am batlanim min haTorah. Moshe doesn't want, he doesn't desire to redeem a nation that doesn't sit and toil in Torah. Moshe doesn't want to redeem you unless you sit and learn. That's what the Orach Chaim HaKodesh brings from the Zohar HaKodesh. We have a rule. Leika midi de lo mize beoraisa. There is nothing that's not hinted to in the Torah. Haforba vehaforba. If you dig, you will find. Where is this alluded to in the Torah? Moshe doesn't want to redeem you unless you sit and you toil in Divrei Torah. In Parsha Shavua, it's lenu. In our Parsha. Sheni. Uvnei Yisrael yoitzim b'yad rama. Literally, Yisrael, we're coming out with a stretched arm. That's not what it's saying here. The pasuk is asking you. The pasuk is not just telling you history. The pasuk is a directive for life, for generations, for the future. Asks the pasuk. Uvnei Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, my children, asks the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Yoitzim, question mark. Do you want to finally get out of Galus? Yoitzim. There's only one way. Beyad Rama. Go to Yad. Yad is Yud Daled Yoredea. Rama is Reish Mem Hei, Simin Reish Mem Hei. That is Hilchos Talmud Torah, says the pasuk. You want to get out? You want to finally get out of Galus? There's only one way. Yad Rama. Yoredea Reish Mem Hei, Hilchos Talmud Torah. Mitzvah Hashem. We should all experience the great Geula with the coming of Mashiach. Mitzvah Hashem. I don't know if AI will join us, holding all hands around the gates of Yerushalayim, dancing with Melech HaMashiach. Nizke v'nichye v'nireh. But Mitzvah Hashem. It should be Bekarov Beyameinu V'noimar.
Amen. Thank you very much.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.